You're watching The World Now. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker stressed that negotiations about a future EU-UK trading relationship after Britain leaves the European Union (EU) could only start once divorce issues were resolved. Britain and the European Commission are holding a third round of talks this week, which the European Union has said must focus on the rights of EU and British citizens living abroad, a financial settlement and the Northern Ireland border. Juncker reiterated the EU's position that negotiation of a free trade deal would only come once sufficient progress will have been made on proposals on the divorce terms. The round of talks is taking place more than a year after Britain voted in a referendum to leave the EU, delivering an unprecedented blow to the post-World War II European migration. We have Global Affairs Policy Analyst Collins Nweke joining me now via Skype to talk more on these negotiations between the EU and the UK. Glad to have you join us, Collins.
My pleasure to be with you indeed.
Good. Negotiations to start, like Juncker has said, after Britain leaves the EU. What sense do you make of this?
Well, the sense I make of this is the fact that the start of the negotiation yesterday, this week, which is going to last 3 days. So as a matter of fact, as you and I are having this conversation, negotiation is going on behind closed doors between the UK representative and the representative of the UK, of the EU. It couldn't have come at a worse time for Britain for the simple reason that the Labour Party appears, that's the opposition party in the UK, have now appeared to have, found a lost thread as far as how they are going to position themselves. Because just on Sunday, and of course it's not a coincidence, Labour came up with a proposal that would make the UK remain in the single European market for an unspecified period of time as part of the transitional deal with the EU. Now, the Conservative Party, the party in power, has simply said, no way, that is not going to happen. So you see, that has introduced a whole set of turmoil, new turmoil, within Britain. And on the backdrop of such turmoil, I think it's very difficult for them to, concentrate on the negotiation in the best interest of the hard Brexit which they want. And like you rightly pointed out, the European Union has made it very, very clear that until the divorce bill is settled and clarity on two other major issues are off the ground, that they are not going to get into the nitty-gritty. So I think a very difficult negotiation is actually unfolding.
Wow, let me take you up on the trade and ask you again what sense you make of the fact that Juncker's EU's position that negotiations of free trade will only take place after progress is made on proposals concerning divorce.
Yes, what I make of it is that the whole essence of the European Union is essentially that free movement of both people, goods, and services. Now, it is either you are part of that club that allows and enhances, that free movement of people, goods, and services, or you are not. Now, if Britain has decided that they're going to leave, well, you can't eat your cake and have it. That is essentially what Juncker is telling Britain.
All right. On that score, let me ask you now: what's the greatest challenge facing Theresa May and Britain at this point?
I think the greatest challenge facing them is essentially, eating back the walls that they had, put out there. Mainly that they want a hard Brexit. Now, we have seen from the position papers that Britain has put out there that it is indeed robust in wordings, but no specifics. So that means that, yes, the only thing they know is they want to leave the EU, want to exit the EU, but exactly how they want to do that is very much unclear. On the other hand, the EU has very, very detailed and fine-tuned plans, and it appears that each of the areas that Britain brings up, for example, paying the divorce bill, of which the figure in itself is controversial, is not off the table. Take the issue of EU citizens' rights, Northern Ireland's border, and like I said, the exit bill. These are all issues that the EU wants cleared before any other discussion takes place. Now, Britain is saying, let's do things simultaneously. I mean, if we take on the negotiations in tandem, one problem will sort the other. So it's very, very unclear how they are going to riddle out of this. But let's wait for their joint press conference tomorrow or on Thursday for us to know what they may have agreed preliminary.
Apparently, the way things are looking, the EU seems to have an advantage. You think so?
Oh, yes, certainly.
Clear advantage.
The EU definitely has an advantage, and from the way things are looking, I hope I'm not, playing the devil's advocate here. But signs are becoming clearer that Brexit may not necessarily happen, or at least not in the sense
they wanted
that the Conservative Party, anticipated it to be.
All right, let me ask you this. May has sometime in the past, I'm sure, of course, threatened that a no deal is better than a bad deal, saying that they may eventually pull out. Do you see Britain pulling out of these talks in any event? And if this occurs likely, what are the likely implications?
The first clear likely implication of Britain pulling out of negotiations is that there will not be a Brexit, because the EU law establishing the union is clear on the fact that you remain part of the family until there is a clear and legal exit arrangement agreed on both sides. Now, Britain pulling out is inconceivable, because it means it collapses and then they remain. Now, on the other hand, they might just tally along, play some hard games, and try to see the much that they can get out of the EU. But then that would translate to a soft Brexit, as opposed to the hard Brexit that they wanted. Now, you also have to combine this with the fact that ultimately, whatever the UK government wants to take over to the EU as their negotiating paper has got to go back at least to the Parliament, or on the worst case scenario, to the British people, for them to determine if that is what they want or not. So you see, it's neither here nor there for the British government.
Looks like before the negotiations, Theresa May was basically huffing and puffing. Global Affairs Policy Analyst Collins Nweke, thank you very much.